With traditional penetration testing activities, usually the initial flaws are not understanding the full extent of the work. So you need to ask yourself, what question am I trying to answer? And then you adjust the scope so that it answers those questions and addresses real-world attacks. Traditional penetration testing starts by looking at a few single systems, with the main goal usually being to identify a number of vulnerabilities and ultimately remediate them. That is something that is useful and all organizations should be doing, but you should also be making sure that the tests that you do address real-world threats, which sometimes requires you to extend the scope of work to look at not only single systems, but to understand the full business context and also to assess that full context. With that approach, what you do is you have a very vulnerability-centric approach where you take a system, take it in isolation, identify the vulnerabilities and fix them. And thereafter you ask yourself the question, is this system now secure? However, the question is a bit more complicated than that. It requires you to also think outside of that traditional approach, where you ask yourself, what are the attack paths to compromise the system? And you then adjust your scope so that you also try and investigate these full attack paths with the full business context, rather than just focusing on identifying vulnerabilities. When you're defining the scope of work for your assessment, you need to make sure that you define it not only with the single system of concern, but that you map all the interactions with surrounding systems and which ones are important, and then you adjust your approach to assessing these components to the ones that carry the most risk. Thereby, you ensure that the assessments themselves are valuable, but by extent, the results are as well.